is here in today's webinar. I'm Dr. Vasavi Acharya, Founder Chairperson, Early Child Development Forum. And today we are here with another webinar on a very, very pertinent topic, hybrid learning, benefits of mixed mode instructions in early years. And today we are joined with panelists from all over India, and we have with us Kusum Kanwar. She is the National Core Committee member, APER, the founder, CEO, Adopt Skills, MD Kangaroo Kids Kandivali, and former principal, Billabong High International School. Welcome, Kusum. We have with us Garima Srivastava, an early years coordinator at Pathway School, Noida, and she has an extensive experience in early years, enabling early years environment, and she has been contributing relentlessly in the domain of ECE. Welcome, Garima.
Thank you.
We have with us Paras Mahendru, preschool education consultant. She is a curriculum designer for early years and an inclusion expert. Welcome, Paras.
Thank you.
Yashvi has not been able to join us because of some internet issues, but we are planning to have her in our upcoming webinar, one of the upcoming webinars that we have lined up. Well, so today it's a really interesting topic, the hybrid learning or the blended learning, approach, how we can inculcate it into our curriculum, in our preschool curriculums, right? And what are the best ways, and what best than to hear from the experts? Well, my first question to Kusum is, what blended learning looks like for preschoolers, and how can and I would also want to ask you about how educators can inculcate the blended learning curriculum to make learning more effective.
Right. So definitely I'll be covering up what blended learning looks like for a preschooler in these times, right? In the pandemic. So for a preschooler, the familiar routine of the carpool lines and the bus rides have been replaced with logging in each morning to a virtual classroom. And this will continue as per estimates for a long time to come. So presently we are on the remote blended learning platforms, which I like to call the emergency remote learning model, created world over to cater to the sudden learning void when the schools were shut down overnight. Now, just like everything else, and education also has changed overnight for this preschooler. His teacher changed to his mom at home, and the home environment changed to his, changed spaces, and became his school and a learning space for them. The way they now receive education has changed. For all of us who know and understand the importance of continued learning, connections, stimulating a preschooler's mind, where 90% of the brain growth happens in the 0 to 5 years, these early experiences have an enormous influence on children's sponge-like brains. So childhood, which gives us the blueprint of our life, it has everything from our attitudes, our character, our personality, feelings connected, capable, our capabilities are, being courageous, and everything we experience is what we imbibe in these crucial growing up years. So we all know that there are special challenges to every age of the remote blended learning in these times. So a high school child can direct his own or her learning with guided support from the teachers and logistical support from the parents. But here in the early years, they need constant supervision, more social nourishment than academic nurturing. So our schools are imparting home-based learning, keeping the three following engagements in mind. One is the teacher-child interaction, parent and child connection, and children independent activities. Now, what does the teacher-child connection, look like? So this connection is made through FaceTime video chats, and till the ban came, the 40 minutes, live sessions of teachers and students. As you know, Maharashtra has a ban for early years till grade 2. So presently, it's a 15 minute of video chat, which is meet and greet with teachers and their classmates. And then listening and seeing videos sent by the schools on various concepts. I've, I've got a whole huge list of concepts, but I'll just mention a few, like my first day at school, three little magic words. It could also be summer season, picture talk, introduction to pet animals, so science experiments like condensation, evaporation, freezing, even introduction to body parts, invertebrates and vertebrates, different life cycles of animals, etc. Now, the second one being the parent-child interaction, where giving activities that parents can do with their children with no stress on academics, of course. And these are fun videos to watch together. It could be on phonics, numbers, games, stories, also concepts which I've already discussed above, done by the teachers. Then the third is the child independent activities. It is very important to prepare the child to be independent, right? So activities that the children can do with minimal, help around. That apart from what we have listed above, it could also include yoga. It could have home chores, etc. So we strongly recommend that the connection between the teacher and the child should continue during the lockdown until preschools reopen and then follow the hybrid form of learning in the near future. Simple example of learning from the COVID situation could be, or what we have done is, apart from telling them it's life threatening, so wash your hands, so 20 seconds, for 20 seconds. So they're singing happy birthday song twice over. So that takes care of the 20 seconds. Wearing a mask, maintaining physical distancing, etc., etc. So we're not missing an opportunity to prompt, dig deep, and ideally provide a degree of comfort during a time of alarming headlines and numerous half-truths. So from simple concepts that work well for these younger children, like why hygiene matters and how germs spread, to more complex topics like ethical decision making, the science behind how viral infections work, or on the math underpinning pandemics. So teachers and parents can find ways to help children rise above this commotion with unique, thoughtful lesson plans as well. So we recommend the remote blended learning that is presently happening, so that parents too borrow a few strategies from the preschool teachers to get the best learning for their child. So at home, for example, we are asking them resist doing for them what they can do for themselves. Help them to make, help to make your child more self-sufficient. Don't redo what they have done. Assign simple chores and tasks, and also give them advance notice before transitions, because we teachers are doing it. Knowing that, let children know when transitions are coming. And it's a whole lot of these strategies which actually the teachers are, they do on a daily basis. And since this is not the time to stress on academics, academic achievements, or assessing children academically, or our focus is maximum engagement by way of conversations with children about topics that help nurture their thinking, their emotional skills, and social skills. As the connection with children must continue even if remotely. Now, this kind of engagement also keeps teachers actively involved and partnering with parents. Now, we definitely want to come out of this pandemic with happy, resilient children, and these blended remote learning engagements are helping children to be happy. Now, it is important to address the crisis and children's experiences directly through the conversations and presentations, but even more importantly, indirectly through artistic and creative expressions, which are known to be very, very effective in addressing deeper anxieties in children. Now, which we actually may not recognize easily. And so the exciting brain news is that participating in these art, music, movement, storytelling activities that has not only developed their language, their mathematics, their science and social skills, but they've also strengthened the synapses between the brain cells. Now, on how can educators prepare a hybrid blended learning curriculum to make online learning effective? There's no perfect answer, or there are no clear-cut guidelines with any school or institution. There are only a few facts which raise, some questions to stimulate thinking and to help each one of us to find a perfect fit model of hybrid schooling and blended curriculum for our own individual schools, right? So we can only pick up, we just have some situations and some challenges, you can say, from where we are picking up the answers. Now, the list of challenges faced is long, but the reward will be noteworthy. Why? Because breathing life into innovative education is needed in a world that is vastly different than it was not only 20 years ago, but even 3 months back. So, as we embrace change and innovation, we must be willing to rethink what it means to teach the hybrid learning model, which is as rejuvenating as it's exhausting. My own experiences, say, as an educator, suggest that this model really does help people learn how to learn better than traditional methods and will only add more to the blended remote learning model. So, what does the curriculum content look like here? We'll see innovations to optimize learning. A hybrid form of education will emerge, that which has the best blend of online and in-school mode for peer connection. So, however, once the immunity vaccination is in place, this will take steam, not before that. So, the blended, flipped, and hybrid modalities. Further on, traditional in-person new learning modalities which have emerged will get stronger. So it will take off from where the remote, blended learning is happening right now. We will also have live broadcasts to educational influencers. Probably a lot of these kind of virtual reality experiences that we are already into. And this will be the order of the day, which is already has started. Also, the recorded concepts which children can view, they can pause and rewind at the pace when required later, supports them and doesn't overwhelm them. That will also be encouraged and preferred. There are no equivalents for a physical classroom or school, however, but we need to start designing a way forward. Now, raising and educating children also involves supporting their overall development and preparing them for life. So even now, as children, we are learning how to cope with life, how to turn a bad situation into a good one and a great one. So we are witnessing a huge change in perspective, where we need to help children to continue, developing their skills rather than recreating school content by assigning extra worksheets, flashcards, or textbook lessons. Now, the support of parents and facilitation at home is very essential to make this learning successful for children. Now, the question is, how easy or challenging is it for this generation to embrace the change in methodology? Now, homeschooling too, is something where this lasting impact, on the path of learning that points at future transformations is homeschooling, where some parents will need a bit of help from schools and organizations for their above. Now, coming out stronger and successful from remote learning to new hybrid model is the way ahead. Hybrid schools are actually a borrowed way. If you actually go to see, they're a borrowed way of schooling that came into existence more than a decade ago as a reaction and rejection of the traditional schools, where learning had regressed into a vicious cycle. The pandemic may just steer us totally towards it, and we are heading to this model where school days can be fixed, ranging from 2 to 4, and remaining days children study at home under parent supervision. So learning will also mean keeping three modes of interaction that I already spoke about for the preschoolers. And for the older ones, primarily it could be self-study, where deep learning is preferred over wide knowledge of curriculum. Okay. Now here curriculum is flexible with the addition of learning means from multiple sources. Now in the real world context, that is encouraged. Those parents retain predominance in shaping the child's education in a hybrid system, and learning, they're not only the education, but also the personality development and value inculcation. School's role will become secondary and teachers' role limited to providing the clarity and collaborative experiential learning with peers. Now, schools will give opportunities for sports and co-curricular activities and social connections for holistic development. Now, the hybrid model of schooling with blended curriculum will see various models of customization by different institutions and will follow a number of new models that we have evolved, such as it could be rotation model, which is already going on, in different parts of the world, flexible model, self-blend model, enriched virtual model, etc. So what will increase the popularity of these hybrid schools is that it will combine best of both worlds. That is personalized learning with access to a variety of online learning resources, lively classroom environment, and teacher facilitation. Right, so I can go on with the structure and things like that, but I think at some point after others have made a point, then I can come back to it. Is that okay?
Thank you so much, Kusum. That answers my question. And yes, this is what is going to be, the coming generation. We have to inculcate the blended, and even if the schools, they start operating again, but we are not going to do away with this. This is going to stay back. Right. My question next, I would be asking Garima. See, there are a lot of worries with, among the parents regarding the online mode of learning. Already, like Kusum has said, in Maharashtra, the government has banned online learning because parents have generally grown-ups have the thing of the screen time and all of that. So what do you think is the right way of striking a balance between the online and the offline mode of learning? Number one, I would want to know that. And second, what are the best strategies you think can be followed in the blended learning module? Kusum has already shared a few, but since again, these modules are all customized. So we would want to hear from you what you would be, offering on the plate. Right.
So first of all, I'd like to thank ECDF for giving this platform to talk about learning for preschool children. I will be majorly focusing on early years and preschool children because that is what I deal with, being an early years educator. And I would also say big hi to all the panelists and a warm welcome to all the listeners. So hybrid learning for preschool going children definitely is one of the topic which is being discussed worldwide at present because this is a very tender age we are discussing. And COVID-19 has been a life-changing experience for everybody. The challenges have been experienced by schools, parents, children. On one hand, it restricted movement, and on the other, it affected the socio-emotional well-being of all the stakeholders, including our little children. I would say overnight, the schools adopted a new system of teaching and learning. Since children could not come to school, schools decided to go to children through online and virtual platform. Our teachers who were till now physically meeting and greeting children switched to a virtual platform of learning, and the learning went to a remote form of learning. This transition was indeed not an easy transition, and it required a rigorous planning, researching, and most importantly, testing and trying. And when we talk about early childhood years, we just can't underestimate the early childhood years because research has spoken volumes about its importance. And it is said that these are the building blocks for a child's foundation. The research has shown that the neural connection and the synaptic connections formed during these years depends on the stimulus provided and the experiences received by our children. So a gap of 5 to 6 months does make a huge difference. So when we talk about this pandemic, it did bring in this 5 to 6 months period where children were actually transferred or asked to sit at home because the schools were shut. But we also know that 90% of the brain development happens during the initial 0 to 5 years or 0 to 3 years. So somehow the learning and the experiential form of teaching and learning had to be taken from physical classroom to the virtual platform. So let's discuss about how few schools adapted in some manner which was feasible for them, and few schools took on to the really rigorous form of researching, studying, and then talking about how to go by further. So though this transition was not easy for any age group, still in higher grades, I would say children had an experience of blended learning and teaching due to the technological advancements. They were getting their assignments, they were having their own home tutorials at home. But for early years, it was a total 360-degree shift, as children of that age group need physical and social emotional connect with their caretakers. Their learning is very experiential, hands-on. For them to switch to online mode of learning required a hand in glove support from the caregivers, the parents. That's when hybrid learning helped us actually. So if you try and define the hybrid learning module, it has been in existence, but for early years, I would say hybrid learning combines teaching and learning method from both face-to-face and online learning, and that it includes elements of both synchronous and asynchronous formats. So children would meet their caretakers. When we switched to the online format or the virtual classroom, children would meet their caretakers, facilitators for an X duration of period, depending upon what the school has decided or the state has decided for that particular zone. And rest of the learning was carried on offline with the help of parents, peers, grandparents, helpers. So hybrid learning for early years looks like a short duration of face-to-face online learning, along with the offline learning with parents and other caregivers or helpers. So, but though the work of school and parents has increased manyfold, but I think both teachers and parents as well as school has really proven to be resilient and have really joined hands together to make it really a fruitful time for their children. For toddlers, pre-nursery, kindergartners, it is a very important thing to keep in mind when teachers are going ahead with the virtual session to keep the child to the teacher ratio into consideration. So if required, the classroom size had to be broken down into small batches so that the children could connect with their teachers virtually, and the teachers could literally do a socio-emotional connect with their child through the online platform. So how would an online session look like? For such young children, the online session basically could start with a simple hello song, which the children are very accustomed with during their physical classroom that they've seen. Then definitely talking about the child's well-being, how is the child feeling, maybe talking about his favorite toy, and connecting through other medium. What did you eat for breakfast today? So this interaction is very important before we talk about the learning of this age group, because this connect where the child is not able to embrace you, feel you, physically hug you, but the child needs to get that warmth from the facilitators. Teachers can also do music and movement, because research has shown that music and movement has its own significance during early years, and it can be definitely clubbed with the physical movement, physical exercises to start with, which really calms their energy down, and then they can sit for some duration in front of the laptop, because this is a very alien arena children have entered into of this age group, and for them to literally stick to the laptop for 45 minutes to an hour is a big thing we are asking from them. Then teachers can also do short storytelling sessions. They can engage children in DIY engagements, some mark making activities virtually. Maybe children have their own Hot Wheel cars at home. These are few very basic things I'm talking about. And how would offline learning look like? Now, this is 45 minutes of online learning which teachers have had it with their children or with their batches. But what about the offline learning, which we are expecting our parents to actually support us in? So teachers actually need to suggest parents about some engagements that can be done at home involving gross motor, fine motor, language, and creative development of the child. Parents need this guidance from school to be able to be an equal partner in this journey. So a lot of activities, when we talk about early years, Montessori activities do come in as a very hands-on activities during this time, which parents can engage in at home. A simple activity like kneading flour, folding napkins, laying table, washing small utensils, maybe their own kitchen utensils, then beating pasta, throwing a ball in the basket, because we are talking about the holistic development of such a naive age. And it is very important that it is done in a proper researched way. The planner has to be thoughtfully planned with enough meetings, with enough vertical and horizontal meeting with the teams, with the school, with their leaders, walking on, for example, walking on the row of pillows. Some songs can be sent home, YouTube links can be sent home. If we talk about asynchronous format, again, some recorded videos of the teachers are a great way, because children do keep listening, but they connect so well when they actually see their own teachers recording and sending stories, and they really feel connected. And that's when the learning is taken home through, when it is not online, but through offline mode as well. So basically, parents need to be guided of what they can do with their children at home so that they can engage with them fruitfully, understanding. They need guidance to understand the basic of child development, what is expected of them, and a few more strategies to go ahead, because I don't see that the schools would be opening for such small children very soon unless it is safe. So since we are dealing with a very tender age group, so we can talk about a virtual buddy, because now a new batch of children would be coming in. So we can't have 4 to 5 children and being, because they're very alien to the new teacher sitting in front of them. So we can have 2 children being there, and we could just have a teacher addressing them initially in a form of a mom and me format, where we can just talk about the child's favorite things, favorite toy, meet the family members, see child's home environment. And then initially even the time duration has to be short. We are not sure that the children would sit in front of the laptop, but then this has to be planned in such a way that it is very effective, whatever time duration we are meeting with moms being there. This I'm talking about because a lot of teachers are thinking about how to go by for the coming session. Then we can also plan some DIY engagements which are very engaging for children to have some hands-on experience, because that's what will make them sit initially in front of the computer for the online learning. So whether it is water play, messy play, Play-Doh, some cooking engagements, they would really help children. And then we have to also have a customized planning for child to child. So if we know that we have 2 children and a teacher initially who are trying to socio-emotionally connect, the teachers have to plan. And similarly, there is simultaneously different session going on with other teachers, meeting other 2 children. Why 2 children? Because maybe it will give them a connect with each other and with the teacher as well. Then we have to also send home planners to the parents to carry on with the offline learning, because we have to have a blended learning. Blended is like churning. You have 2 kind of modules and you mix them together. So when you're sending home planner, again, it has to be a very holistic planning. It talks about the gross motor, fine motor, language, maybe numeracy. So you talk about rhymes. So you plan it accordingly and send it home. You need to guide to the parent. Parents are definitely looking forward to seek help. And again, recorded story videos would definitely help them connect with teachers who are taking this session, and also maybe some other teachers which the school is gradually planning to introduce to the child. So looking at their videos, eventually when the classes would be made a little larger, the size would increase. Maybe instead of one teacher, it would be then two teachers taking online session, and instead of two children, the child to teacher ratio might increase. So I think these are few suggestions, Vasavi, which I have. Being in the classroom, understanding everyday routine, understanding what are the basic importance when we deal with such tender age group. I hope I'm able to answer a few of the queries that you put forward.
Yes, Garima, you have. Yeah, so looking at what you and Kusum had said, it's kind of, we have to encapsulate both online and offline mode of learning in a way that it reaches the children in the right, blend. And then there should be some amount of parent support, because parents sometimes feel inadequate. They feel inadequate to actually, because all these years, when even as a parent in a preschool, we would just drop our child and it's like, the learning happens in the school. Now the parents are, they are also co-teachers in the process of learning. So it has to be a fine blend. Now coming to, now we are talking about children who are going to normal schools, but we also have children who, because we follow an inclusive education curriculum, we have to think of students with special needs, right? So I was just wondering how parents can help, because at this time everybody is at home. So we would want, everybody to have equal learning opportunities. So here we have Paras with us, who is an inclusion expert. So my question to Paras is, how mixed mode of teaching help children with special needs? I mean, how can we reach out to them, through this mode of learning?
Okay, thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share screen and I'll talk you through the PowerPoint presentation. And hopefully it will work just fine. Just bear with me for 2 seconds. Okay. Mixed mode of learning is something that has been used around the world for facilitating inclusion. Basically, as we've already gathered from the other speakers, as mixed mode of learning, when we talk about mixed mode of learning, we're talking about a fusion between a traditional face-to-face learning, and then at the same time, we are using technology to impart knowledge and information. And technology, when I say technology, it could be device-based, as in screen-based digital technology, or it could be a network-based technology. Before I go on to talking about the benefits of mixed mode of learning for children with special needs and how does it help in an inclusive school, let me briefly talk about what is inclusion and equitable education. Garima's already talked about the importance of early years, and I second her thoughts that early years are crucial for learning and development, and they are the foundation blocks for future learning and development. As she rightly said, that for the first 3 years of life are extremely important for brain development. Now, we know these things through research, and through research we also know that children with special needs or children with disability also need early identification and early intervention. The sooner a child with disability receives educational and therapeutic services, the better outcomes are there for them. So obviously early years are pivotal for all children, regularly developing children, as well as children with disability, and also children who come from disadvantaged backgrounds. And as earlier discussed, that once that gap is there, especially in case of children with disability and children who come from disadvantaged background, it is extremely difficult to fill that gap up, the one that we are all experiencing right now. So India has some very robust policies and procedures in place when it comes to supporting and facilitating inclusion and equitable education. We know that ground reality is a little bit different from what it says at policy level, and that's where we need to work India is also signatory to Sustainable Developmental Goals. I'm sure everybody's familiar with these goals. And goal number 4 is all about inclusion and equitable education. So basically what it says is that by 2030, India will provide equitable, inclusive, and equitable education to all children. And also by 2030, early childhood education will be available to all children, because early childhood education prepares children for primary school. So what I'm trying to say is that early childhood education is extremely important for children with disability. And research says that when children with disability spend time in inclusive schools, their learning outcomes are far better. So here's a graph that has been presented by UNICEF, and it says that 27% of children with disability never have access to schools, as compared to the entire children population, which is 17%. So there are economic factors that also play here. You know, when children with special needs receive good care and good quality early childhood education, they are likely to be healthy adults, and they are likely to be productive citizens of a country. So I think it's high time that we start viewing this approximately 2.2% of our population as productive population, and empower them so that they can participate in economic activities as well as social activities. And hybrid education can help because it provides them the education they need. Traditional education, has certain limitations, and one of the limitations that we face in our country is the adult-child ratio. So again, as I said, hybrid mode of learning or mixed mode of learning can help. One of the things that whenever I go to schools to support teachers or for teacher training, one of the concerns that teachers have in regular classrooms is the behavior of a child with special needs. And they often talk about how the behavior disrupts other children. So a lot of time negative behaviors are coping mechanisms. If I ask a child with physical disability to write just like every other child in the classroom and at the same pace, that's going to cause a lot of anxiety, and child's going to, view this experience as a failure. Now here we can use technology, because technology makes it so much easy for a child to write. Instead of writing on a paper and pencil, they can use modified keyboards or mouse to help them participate in a writing assignment. So it becomes a very positive experience for children with disability. And like I said, they can participate in regular classroom activities with the help of technology. The other thing is that technology is extremely engaging. There's something, the visuals are very captive. There's something happening. The minute a child presses a button, something happens, something pops up. So it motivates children with disability. And children with disability do need a little bit more motivation. They do need a little bit more support when it comes to that intrinsic motivation, which we find in a lot of other children, quite naturally. So it really motivates children, as I said, and also there is instant gratification and there is instant feedback. So as soon as a child presses a button, the screen will talk back. If a child has spelled a word incorrect, the screen will say, try again. So the child with disability does not have to wait for the teacher to come to his desk or her desk and give the feedback. It's right there, instant. And it's also non-judgmental. We all are humans, teachers are humans, so sometimes we do get frustrated when we are working with children with disability, and we might say things like, we've done this yesterday, why don't you remember? These things are very normal, they're very natural. I mean, we don't do these things to hurt a child, but on the other hand, the feedback child receives through technology is very non-judgmental. Like I said, all it will say is try again, which again helps motivate a child with disability and makes technology very, very effective for their learning and development. Obviously, it's flexible. There are different kinds of models that are used when it comes to children with special needs. So technology can be used in the classroom while the other children are, carrying on with their activities, the same activities available on a screen for a child with disability. Children can access material online. They can join a class online. Often children with disability will have bad days and they might not be in a position to come to the school, like the physical school. In that case, they can join the session online, or they can avail the resources that have been uploaded by the teacher. So there are different combinations that are used for children with disability when it comes to mixed mode of learning. And obviously, we've already talked about it, that it's very flexible. Children can learn at their own pace and they have a lot of control over their learning. So that again helps children with disability. It makes the general curriculum accessible. So the whole idea behind inclusive and equitable education is to make general curriculum available to children with disability. And inclusion and equitable education rejects the idea of special education curriculum where the expectations are quite diluted. So what we are saying is that, general curriculum should be available to these children if we want to see them as productive citizens. They have to be equipped with the 21st century skills and knowledge. So if we dilute the curriculum, how are they going to contribute in the economy and the society? So briefly, these are the benefits of hybrid education in a special needs or inclusive classroom and how it works. I've already talked about it. The long run benefits are that, it increases their confidence, it improves their self-esteem, and they can participate in self-advocacy. They can start self-advocacy groups and improve the image of the disability, make it a little bit more, make it more positive. So overall, if you think about it, in the other parts of the world, this model of education is being implemented and is being implemented quite successfully as far as children with disabilities are concerned. And I think this is the right time when we are talking and exploring hybrid education. I think it's the right time to, talk about children with disability and how we can engage them through this model. I think regular curriculum will become more accessible and we will see more success stories as far as children with disability are concerned. And coming to how to find balance, as I said, it's a fusion between technology and face-to-face learning. So obviously, children with disability will need adult support when they are accessing technology, whether it's a device or a network-based technology. There are a lot of different kinds of softwares aware, like, speech to text, text to speech, but they will need support. So there is always an adult intervention. The whole idea behind hybrid curriculum for children with disability is to increase accessibility to facilitate participation. So when the goal is participation, social inclusion comes in effortlessly. And we plan a curriculum keeping these two things in mind, accessibility and participation. Then we will be able to find the balance between the two methods quite effortlessly, as I've said. I hope I answered your question as well. Thank you so much for listening to me. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen now. Thanks.
Thanks, Paras. That made complete sense because, children with special needs often need that, time and space to go forward in their own pace, actually. And so while they're sitting with children who are normal, it sometimes get a little difficult for them to cope. It gives them a lot of pressure. So I think a blended learning module actually helps them to do some part of the work at home and go at their own speed and pace and, make up. So coming to, since Yashvi has not been able to join us, I have, I just wanted to ask her something which I will be asking you guys now. We already discussed a lot about how, we can inculcate the blended learning module is inculcated in different, ways by different schools. Everybody's got to customize their models, and they're starting with that. So now I just wanted to, ask all of you for probably you can give me 2 points on, since after somebody has written, I think Varsha has written, schools are going to reopen in October. We in the Northeast feel that it's going to reopen by August. We don't know the time, and some feel that it's going to go a long way, in this manner. So even if schools reopen and we get back to the normal face-to-face, learning mode that we do with the early years, do you think that the blended learning approach is going to stay back, and what would be the parents' take on it? Because sometimes parents feel online learning for too young ones are difficult, this and that. So what is your take on it? I mean, what do you think? Garima can start, Kusum can start with that, and then Garima and then Paras can comment.
First of all, we need to understand that we're all in this together, whether it's the schools, the teachers, the parents, everyone's in it together. Also, if they do understand, if parents do understand what schools are trying to recreate, I'll give you, an example of art that happens, and there's so much that can be developed. And I feel if parents have an orientation as to why we are saying that this connection, this stimulation is important because of, the early years connection, and, how brain growth happens. 90% of it happens by the years 3 and 5, and also the 7 developmental skills that are, inculcated by all of us. I think it'll make, it'll help them as well. So a very small example by which I think, parents can understand that. This is an activity of art, right? And I take one art blow painting technique that we go through remote learning. That's, using the straw to blow the paint on the paper. The teacher can pose a question, and this is all happening, face to face. That's happening online on a remote, platform. So teacher will pose a question, or she poses a question to get the children thinking before they even begin to start this art form. So how can I get the paint to move and dance across the paper using just the straw, right? Answers coming in, and teachers and the teacher, or if you've got 2 teachers, they ensure that, she responds and she acknowledges each answer. So as educators, we know that this technique, because we know at the back end, the pedagogies around this, that it encourages exploration, it's investigation and scientific thought. And the question encourages a conversation and helps build a social emotional connection, right? It is simple art, but it's lots of fun for children. And we know what the outcomes are. So if a parent also understands this outcome, I think it becomes much way easier for us to continue with this kind of a system. In this way, you can engage your child for about 10 to 20 minutes in an activity. And then once, whenever, in this hybrid system, if there is an, inline school, that is, if there's a physical school, when they come in, they have a conversation around it. Many skills like communication, confidence building, your social emotional skills, feelings, thoughts, ideas can be shared with each other, right? So also when we are, when we are talking about things like, children grow, they have microgreens that they're growing at home, and then they have a conversation with the teacher, on the remote platform, and there are so many different kind of skills that are built. Now there's something which is, which I always tell parents is, when we are talking about, what is it that it's developing? So it stimulates all the 7 developmental skills of the language development, which Garima also spoke about, and also Paras emphasized on it, that this is, it is your social emotional, it is your physical, it is along with your cognitive, that is a focus and precision, your sense of balance and body awareness. how important that is. And very simply, if they understand that these activities and actions need impact, any activity needs to impact the child's, a preschooler's brain, the muscles and senses in children, it becomes very easy for everyone to actually imbibe these kind of remote learning, modalities as well. So in a situation today, which is evolving every day, the interaction between all of us as parents, schools, and teachers is imperative for our child. Everything can be done through play, and that is exactly what we need to tell them as these children are developing foundational, they are doing social, emotional, executive functioning, even academic skills through play. So early childhood educators, who all of us who often act as facilitators and building upon the children's natural curiosities to inspire play, we need to keep inspiring the parents as well, right? And keep giving them that connection as to why we are doing this, so that parents can do this so at home. So what I feel is, because these systems are, or these modalities are going to stay on for a very, very long time, and we need to understand that in these kind of systems, everything is created twice here. First in our minds, and then it is in reality. So we need to take this opportunity, to remind ourselves of the skills students need in this VUCA world, to ensure all these skills remain a priority for all our students. We need to inculcate skills through parents as well, like resilience and adaptability.
Yes, very rightly said, Kusum. And now coming to Garima and Paras, you can point those out, but I would also request attendees, if they have any questions, they can type it out so that we can take them one by one, at least 2-3 questions we have the time to take. Yes, Garima, what do you think?
So, Vasavi, as Kusum has pointed out very rightly, that technology is here to stay. And we are all aware that the immersion of technology in education is the new normal. And not only for, I would say, children in higher grades, but also for toddlers in early years, because we see that they're already operating iPads, they're watching videos, they're watching stories using multimodalities. There has been enough research talking about multimodalities, where the child is listening to the oral stories, the child is also listening stories on iPad, audio, visual format, and only audio format also. And there are mothers reading stories from their own computers or their iPhones. So children have their own ICT sessions as well, properly planned. The games are in alignment with the themes, so that they have enough tactile experience of all the technology. So going further also, hybrid learning should be one of the approach which should be taken into serious consideration by schools as well as the teachers when planning, because Dr. Shonkoff from Harvard talks about the serve and return theory. So he has very wisely said that these technological advancement, howsoever advanced they go, they can't just take off the socio-emotional face-to-face connect. So a hybrid model talks about this only, that face-to-face has its own significance, the physical meeting has its own significance, physical classroom has its own significance, but we can definitely blend technology while planning. So as we've spoken about, for such young children, stories recorded by teachers can be sent home, it can be seen with the parents at night during bedtime story. And even children can record their own small cooking sessions, and teachers can then talk about it, showing to the whole class. And that's how a child feel very acknowledged, that yes, even I've been acknowledged. And then that's how we inculcate the technology even during classroom session, and then talking about it as well with what other children think. These small children also have their own reflections, their own kind of metacognition, which is developing day by day. So I would say it should be a new normal from now on, and we should seriously take it into consideration, because you don't know, maybe after 2 years some other pandemic might, and we should not now be at a stop. It might be a time that we feel that it has given us a new Pandora that we should explore in early years and that we can go ahead with it. So I think
Definitely, Garima. Yes, yes. I think that's a new normal, and yeah, it goes hand in hand. And Paras.
Okay, so I obviously agree with Kusum and Garima that, this kind of model is something that we will have to adapt to. If we talk about immediate future, look at the situation we are in. We haven't found any solution for the virus yet, and it doesn't look like we're going to have a solution in immediate future. So how long are we going to keep the schools shut? And we have to open the schools eventually. Somebody, as you mentioned, that schools might reopen in October. So when we do reopen, we also want to make sure that we've taken certain measures to avoid any breakout in the school. So we will have to make sure that children have limited exposure. So they're not coming to school full time like they have been before the pandemic. So they will have to have access to online education as well as for their social emotional development and for their physical development. They will need school, because school is one place where sustained shared thinking is possible. School is one place where mud kitchens are available. School is one place where they have climbing frames, and these are the needs of young children. So yeah, I think in near future, I'm talking about next 2 years, I think we are looking at hybrid model of education even in early years, and of course children with special needs. And I think if we look at this model as a 21st century skill, then it should become a permanent feature in our education system. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Paras. And we have come to the almost the end of the webinar. And I was just looking, there is no question. I think you guys have beautifully answered. I mean, addressed all the aspects of hybrid learning. And so we are not we had a few comments, but no questions as such. And
So, Vasavi, can I just, there's one question here, which I think Malavika says that parents are withdrawing kids from the schools.
yeah, that's a
actually.
comment she had
Yeah,
given,
that's a
yeah, a
comment,
remark.
but I would
Yeah.
like to just, take that up because, yes,
Absolutely,
rightly
please,
so,
yeah.
they are doing it because there
Right.
is no physical school that is happening. So I did have this, a Zoom meeting with a lot of parents where they did ask about, technology is going to take away everything from my child, and they're going to be more social distancing. So my only answer to such questions usually is: did personal connections wear out, or did they create a gap with the first landline telephone or mobile phones, emails or WhatsApp in our daily life? Or did we enhance it? We did enhance our communication and our own personal relationships with others, right? So in the same way, a teacher who molds technology, she will use it in ways that's beneficial for her students and herself as well. So the personal connection is just one more goal that the teachers will add to their learning outcomes. And finally, as humans, we are actually a combination of emotional mind and rational mind. So when these two minds work in tight harmony to create our experiences of life, we create learning systems that let children learn with a balance of head and heart, right? So in the new normal and in the new normal hybrid schooling systems, because this is what is going to happen, at least for the 2 years. And like Paras, I'm also very, very positive that, in 2 years' time, I think we should be opening up physical schooling for them, and hybrid schooling is the way forward. Thank you so much for this, Asmi. I couldn't thank you all in the beginning. Thank you, ECBF, and it's always a pleasure to be on your platform. Thank you.
Kusum, it's always a pleasure to have you with us. And yes, Malavika wanted some tips. She said that how can we keep back the students? Actually, I would, tell all the educators that parents actually cannot step into a teacher's shoes, because we have our techniques, we have, different ways how we reach out to children, and suddenly the reverse of role is only a kind of support that parents are giving children to learn at home as of now. because we are all confined in our homes, but the expertise, the knowledge, the way of implementing the curriculum, the way we address the different skill sets of children is, there's a lot of research into it, there's a lot of training into all of that. And so at some point of time, if sometimes the parents feel that, okay, we don't have physical classes, so we don't need our children to, actually access this online material and all of that, probably, they are thinking it in a wrong way, because this is a support system to actually, kind of empower their children in the right way. And this is going to stay. So like Kusum said, blended learning is here to stay. Like everybody, all of us agree. And this is what is going to be, the learning modality in the new normal. And I think if parents are somehow feeling like that we don't have the classes and so the children don't need to be there, they'll again come back, when they see the other children progress, those who are accessing the material. And we have seen firsthand, in our schools, that parents are they're actually very happy with the children, the modules that we are providing, the online classes that we are giving, and the children are developing. So I think this is a new way out, and blended learning is here to stay. And with a note of positivity, whether we don't know how soon we are going to get over this pandemic, but yes, learning never stops. Knowledge is, always there is something to know and learn. And I feel, we go on with the webinars till we don't get to meet each other face to face, and one day we are all going to get together. With a note of positivity, with a lot of thanks to all our panelists, Kusum, Garima, Paras, we missed Yashvi, and thank you to all the attendees. I hope you all have good takeaways from this webinar, and we hope to meet you soon again with our series 3, which will be continuing. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Have a great evening.
Thank you.